Now, here are your hosts, Hank Davis and Mello Betts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the NFL Fan Podcast, brought to you by Tiger Prince Entertainment and available for download on tpenetwork.com. I'm your host, former professional athlete Hank Davis, and joining me on the line, he's our resident professor of sports and the gambling guru himself. He's Mello Betts. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well, and I'm ready for some more bad football.
Oh, my gosh, man. Yikes. You know, that's why you got to sometimes choose sleep over watching terrible Thursday night games.
It is, it's brutal, dude. It's tough now. To the endurance to last the whole season of these brutal games, it's tough.
And I had a friend of mine remind me that, man, you've been rooting for the Raiders since you were a little kid, and they haven't been to the playoffs since like 2002. I was like, oh my gosh, it's been a decade.
You lose track of time. You really do. Look at it. My Browns and Lions and stuff. It's been decades, all right? It just seems like just a week ago.
Yeah, they were good. They were getting to the playoffs every year, and then all of a sudden, like the last 10 years.
We can't sniff the playoffs, all right?
Haven't been able to do anything. It's terrible, man. Bad. So we should reveal right now the Thursday night game. I was snake bitten with them stupid Raiders, so I didn't take them. I went the other way. I went to Manning, and you went with the Raiders, and you need to explain yourself. Why?
I went with them last week. The odds of me getting them 2 weeks in a row.
You went against them last week, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I actually picked one of their games right, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yes.
And the odds of me getting them 2 in a row were probably 0. So I was going to defer to you, but I got caught up with some business associates and had to make a last-second pick. And, it didn't go well. Let's just say it didn't go well.
I'm just curious. How does Carson Palmer end nearly every game with 300 yards passing and no points?
Didn't you say there's a term in boxing of ineffective aggressiveness?
Yes, there is.
I'd say when you get yardage without it translating to points, that's probably the same thing.
Yeah, in boxing, you'd be like, Hank Davis threw 300 punches that round. How many did he land? About 2. He got 2 jabs in. Oh, my goodness. So with that, let's go to the news, shall we?
All right.
It's time for the news, a roundup of all the biggest headlines.
Commissioner Roger Goodell said Thursday the NFL's competition committee would consider in the offseason replacing the kickoff. The league previously had moved the kickoff from the 30 to the 35 to cut down on violent collisions. Mello, this would be insane if they get rid of the kickoff. Then you'd have no more of those, the surprise onside kicks that never work. And
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you couldn't even do a surprise onside kick. And then how do you get the ball right back? If you're making your comeback, how do you try to get the ball right back?
That completely went over my head. The only thing I could think of is all those records they're safe now. All the return records there, whatever the longest, 108 or whatever, it'll never be broken if we're going to take away the kickoff. I didn't even think about that, how the effect that would have on the game with onside kicks, yeah.
And then all the players that get employed to be special teams.
Oh, yeah. Do we really need the big roster now?
No, you wouldn't. You really wouldn't. I mean, half of those guys that play on special teams are never going to be solid position guys.
True that.
And they're just on the team because they're amazing, because you've already kind of cut the legs off of, pun intended, kind of like the Devin Hesters and all those guys that are electrifying.
Yeah, Josh Cribbs. And they got to do it on the punt return now because you can't.
Just ruined it.
Yeah, you've already ruined the kickoff. But I can't imagine a world without a kickoff.
So what would you do on punts then? Would you do away with punts as well?
Well, I mean, isn't that very close to the same thing? You've got maybe not as many guys running full tilt as what you've got on the kickoff because they get to line up and and run at each other like that. And from the punt return, they're right there with each other. So I guess you don't get it as fast to start, but you're still running full tilt here.
Yeah, you're screaming down the field, and you're trying to take somebody's head off.
Why don't they just accept the fact that this is a very violent game and we know bad things are going to happen? So everybody signed waivers that you can't come back on us if you're going to be a gladiator in this sport.
Yeah, and it's like a shock to them, like, wow, all of a sudden all these injuries are propping up. But we've been knowing that professional athletes have been broken down for years.
Yeah, all of a sudden the medicine and technology just keeps telling on us that what we've known for years with this wooziness and stuff was concussions, just like we thought.
Yeah. So it's pretty sad. So anything else on the kickoffs?
I can't imagine. I can't fathom that they could get rid of the kickoff. That just blows me away.
I hope they don't. So we'll find out in the offseason. RG3 broke Cam Newton's NFL single season rushing record for yards rushing by a rookie quarterback during Monday night's 17-16 win over the Giants. Now, that prompted the Hall of Fame to request RG3's cleats and jersey. Mello, do they get carried away? Do you think the Hall gets carried away with all these different records and stuff like that? And how do you think some of the legends who aren't in there, who don't have any memorabilia in the Hall, think about these rookies getting their stuff in there?
Well, that's the society that we live in. What's the next greatest thing? Keep going, going, going. If we're having people and they're going to be repeat fans of going to the Hall to see stuff, are they going to want to look at the same stuff over again, or do you keep feeding them this new stuff? I mean, we live in a society of let's hype up the latest, greatest thing. That's all the Hall's doing is following suit.
Yeah, that's just true. And it's, I guess I should warn everybody out there that RG4 will be out next fall.
Oh, boy.
Buffalo Bills general manager Buddy Nix is asking playoff-starved fans for a little more patience while explaining why it's taken him so long to address the team's most pressing need, which is a franchise quarterback. So he said, with so many holes to fill on the roster, he said that I thought it was better to improve the rest of the team before taking a shot at selecting a quarterback high in the draft. Mello, from Casey Kasem to Buddy Nix.
Oh, boy.
All right, so there we go. We got Guns N' Roses. They chimed in a little bit there for us. And what are your thoughts on this, besides the obvious, basically saying that you were holding out hope that your quarterback could do something?
Well, I mean, he's putting it right on out there, isn't he? Like, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the answer in a roundabout way here, but look at the division that you're in. I mean, I'm just a realist when it comes to this. Not everybody is going to be able to build a Super Bowl caliber team. And look at the division you're in. Look at the hand you've been dealt. And it's just not, you have to build a team that can overtake the New England Patriots. Good luck with that.
I'll see you next year. It's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of sad. Because
it's true, but I mean, there can be only one to begin with, and there's only a handful of teams that have a legitimate shot at winning it, and the rest, they have one reason, 5 reasons, 100 reasons why they're not going to be able to get it done.
And I'll just quickly have this brief departure, and then we'll get back to it. But, I was looking up something, or I was in the other room, and I was having my girlfriend look up something for the show, and I needed a couple teams, some information on a couple teams. And she was asking me where to find them. And I was in the other room shouting, like, go to standings. Now, look at the bottom of each category for these teams. They'll be right at the very bottom. And you know what I mean? And that's bad that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That it's actually true. You know what I mean? That's how she found them. She was just like, oh, is it this one? Yeah. I was like, yep. You found them. Thank you.
Yeah, you are where you live.
Yeah,
too.
and you always find certain teams, they just sink like a stone once the season gets well underway.
Oh man, people's jobs on the line. Listen to you.
Yeah, I'm pretty heartless. Add John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin to the list of post-game handshakes gone wrong, Mello.
Oh no.
So it appeared that Harbaugh approached the post-game handshake with a good attitude and attempted to congratulate Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin, who simply stuck his hand out for a second and then tried to jog away. Harbaugh grabbed his hand, pulled Tomlin back around, kind of spun him back around, and tried to, get up close to him until Tomlin just pulled away and jogged off. What is up with this?
I think Baltimore is taking over and Pittsburgh is getting older, and it's hard when you've been the top dog and you're watching them actually overtake you. I think Baltimore's if you look at the injuries and the age with Pittsburgh and stuff, Baltimore looks just a little bit brighter to me right now.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh got that game. Shouldn't he have been elated?
You would think, but I don't see it ending well for Pittsburgh. I don't see Pittsburgh going on any kind of a real run here. It just doesn't look fathomable to me that with the injuries and the way things just aren't really clicking that good. And I told you that offensive line I've just not been impressed with.
No. They do have a lot of problems. So you think maybe a little bit of jealousy or anger
I think the window's closing for Pittsburgh, and I think they realize that. And I think Baltimore, their coach can stay all hyped up and stuff because look at who his GM is. I mean, he's going to keep bringing him good players. That's just what the guy does.
True. All right, a late fourth quarter fumble as the 49ers were trying to run out the clock against the Rams. That cost them the game Sunday, we know. Do you think Colin Kaepernick mania is finally going to subside, Mello?
Oh, yeah, and I think we even had this conversation earlier when you said he was going to have a stinker of a game somewhere in there. And I don't think he's played that well. I think, I was reading one of my reports said, is the book out on him? Because he's had, 3 subpar games in a row here. So, this is what this guy likes to do. Let's try to take that away from him and make him more human.
And lastly, for the news, Mello, every year they have that NFL poll about who's America's team, who's the most favorite quarterback, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this year, the polling came back. It was the Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers tied as the favorite teams in the league among a group of 9 popular teams.
Wow.
So each of them had 12%, followed by the Broncos and Bears at 10%, and the Giants and Steelers at 8%. So you would think that would be the end of it. But check this out. The Cowboys are also the most hated team. How would that happen?
Wow.
How would that happen? How would you be like, I guess that's the expression that you either love them or hate them.
Yeah, and they got it right down the middle.
I thought that was amazing little tidbit there.
Very nice.
And then for quarterbacks, they were asked to pick between Romo, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Brady, Rodgers, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Tim Tebow, Michael Vick, and other. And
what are them two doing in the conversation?
So Eli finished first with 17%, followed by Peyton, who got 16%, which I'd like to see that conversation. And then Romo finished last with 3%.
Wow.
So Tebow was third with 14%.
Oh, my word.
That's ridiculous. But kind of funny stuff when you get inside those polls.
I guess.
Mello, shall we move on to our favorite segment?
Oh, yes.
Since I can't pick games, I have to have fun. I can bring funny. I can't pick games. That's not football. That's not football. Thank you. The Minnesota Vikings season will be on the line Sunday against the Chicago Bears. Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway has asked fans to get super drunk in order to boost the Vikings' home field advantage at the Metrodome. We have to play accordingly, and our fans have to show up accordingly, which we know they will. Hopefully, they're super duper drunk. So drink liquor, not beer. The game is scheduled to start at noon local time. As such, Greenway advocated that fans start their drinking early. Yeah, I would say morning drinking. Why not? You could pull an all-nighter. Then you'd have the drunk, tired guys who are really obnoxious. Mellow.
That's not football.
No, that's condoning alcoholism, not football. Colin Kaepernick has one of the most unique pets you'll ever see. At 10 years old, Colin talked his parents into letting him have a tortoise named Sammy. Sammy used to fit in the palm of his hand, but now Sammy is 115 pounds, Mellow. Starting NFL quarterback with a turtle or tortoise, Mellow?
That's not football.
No, and that's not even sanitary either. The Lions and second-year wide receiver Titus Young seem to have a problem with communication and or lining up in the right spot on offense. The receiver was placed on injured reserve earlier this week and will not play again this season. Young apparently has a knee injury and is scheduled for surgery. Detroit Lions head coach Jim Schwartz said Titus Young will have knee surgery unless he doesn't show up.
Ooh.
Oh, Mellow.
That's not football.
And that probably means you are not coming back to the team. Everyone is chiming in on the QB controversy between Mark Sanchez and Tim Tebow. Even former Jets wide receiver Braylon Edwards, who took to Twitter with the following message. Now I'm going to read it as he wrote it.
Okay.
Don't blame Sanchez. I played there. Blame the idiots calling shots. Mark is a beast and will probe it when given a proper chance. I think he meant prove, Mello.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Because probe would be what, Mello? Not football?
No, I'm going to say probing is, that's definitely not football.
It'd have been even better if he was a center. All right. Washington Redskins owner Dan Snyder was in a celebratory mood after the Skins downed the Giants on Monday night. However, according to one reporter, Mr. Snyder also expressed his disdain for the Giants. USA Today reporter, I can't find his name, but a USA Today reporter said that Snyder shook the hand of a Skins staffer, telling him as he walked away, "I hate those mother." Mello?
Whoa, that's not football, guys.
No.
Ooh.
Larry Fitzgerald is easily one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Following the Cardinals' 7-6 loss to the Jets on Sunday, Fitzgerald tried to explain the emotions that go along with playing for a team that ranks last in the NFL in total offense. I have no words, Fitzgerald said. I have to laugh to keep from crying. Mello?
Oh, man, what they're doing in Arizona, baby, that is not football.
Not at all. Oh, my goodness. And then lastly, I'm going to end on the best one of all. One amazing Jets fan has fully embraced the infamous Mark Sanchez fumble by creating a number 6 jersey that says "Butt Fumble" as the name on the back. Mello?
Man, that is mean, and that is not football.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, these guys get better and better with some of this stuff. Oh, so most weeks, not every week, but most weeks, somebody says something so stupid that Mello and I have to send them the old digital. Shut up! Thank you. Carolina defensive end Greg Hardy says the struggling Panthers are a better team than the league-leading Atlanta Falcons. When asked if he meant the Panthers were the better team on September 30th when they lost 30-28 at Atlanta, or better overall, Hardy replied, both.
Okay, buddy.
And for that, shut up. Thank you, because that is really freaking ridiculous. Really ridiculous. All right, Mello, are you ready to, or anything before we start doing our picks?
Oh, breaking down a few numbers here. Big spreads, 0-3 last week. They're at 38%.
Oh.
So that cover last night doesn't shock me that much as I'm going over the big spreads on the board this week. I'm saying you are closed. Your window is closing and getting a correction on some of these. And I don't know that this one's getting up to 50%, but it's got to do better than this. So I might lean towards the bigger 3 spreads after seeing what happened last night.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was kind of thinking something similar. Anything else?
Home dogs and home favorites at 49 and 51%. Can't really help you on that. Home favorites at 46%. With road dogs at 54, I'm not going to look for anything major to happen, with the numbers being this close. Now, the only thing I've really got left for you is the big spreads. I would have to believe that there's going to be a correction coming soon.
Okay. And time is running out, so it better.
Yeah, time's running out for these numbers to add up. I was looking at last year's. I was going over that last night, and you see some of the trends, week 13, 14, some of the trends that kind of lead you to believe that everything's going to be balancing out real shortly here.
Shall we make our infant picks against the spread?
Oh, yes.
Because I'm just gonna start putting a little kid on the floor with crayons and all the team names, and then whichever ones he scribbles on, that's what I'm picking.
That has worked for me in the past, yes.
It might work.
It's time to pick them. Remember, picks are made for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, like you guys laughing. That's what these picks are about. All right, Mello. So we already ran down the Thursday night game. So Sunday, 1 o'clock at Washington. It's going to be RG3 and company laying 2.5 to the Baltimore Ravens. Can I get a handshake, Mello?
Sure.
I'm taking Baltimore getting 2.5. They're a stout team. They'll handle these guys. Who are you taking?
You know what? I went against Washington last week after I had been rolling with them. I'm not going to go against them again. I'm going to believe in these guys again.
Oh my goodness. What is this, a Disney movie?
Yeah. Third RG3.
Oh, everything else is. At Cleveland, the Browns are laying 6.5 points to any team. Oh, it is Kansas City. I'm sorry. But I think Kansas City's going to stay within the 6.5. I think this should be a real barn burner. Who you taking in this one?
Really torn because my information says Romeo is going to be done despite the tragic circumstances that he's going to be done. I think these guys, even though they're coming cross country, it still is only Cleveland. So I'm with you on that. I say Kansas City stays within the 6.5.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous is what it is. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Cleveland will shock us. All right, at Pittsburgh, the Steelers are going to lay 7.5 to the San Diego Chargers. Fire North Turner Stadium will be rocking because they won't have to be there. I'm taking the Chargers, though. I think they're going to come across the country and keep it close with a Pittsburgh Steelers team that is not putting up a lot of points. And if Big Ben does return, he's going to be rusty. He ain't going to just come right in and tear things up. So give me San Diego getting all those points. Who you taking?
Yeah, my information before the show was that they're Gandhi, that you can bank on it. I can't substantiate it, but both Norv and the GM there are supposed to be gone. I don't know. I'm waiting for confirmation on it, but I say they play regardless. I just don't like Pittsburgh as some big favorite all of a sudden here.
No.
That's 7.5's a little much for me.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right. At Indianapolis, the Colts are going to lay 5.5 to the Tennessee Titans. I'm taking Tennessee to stay within the 5.5. I think they're going to do this, even on the road. I think it's going to happen. Mello, who are you taking?
Yeah, I don't see Locker playing as bad this week. And Indy, they can come from behind and nip you in the end and stuff, but I'm not taking them to be no heavy favorite here.
The New York Jets are going to lay 2.5 points on the road at Jacksonville. Did you know Chad Henne is 3-1 against the Jets?
Uh-oh.
And you know the Jets can score about 7 points a game, or maybe 9 if they get a safety. But I'm gonna take Jacksonville getting the 2.5. I think they're gonna be feisty, and I think they're gonna at least only lose by 1 or 2 because the Jets can't seem to win by too much more than that. Who are you gonna take in this one?
I got the Jets to show up. This is probably the last time that they show up this year, but I get them to show up big time this week.
They got them right where they want them.
Yeah, it looks bad. It looks really, really bad. It's about to look good.
Chicago, the Bears. They're going to lay 3 points on the road at Minnesota. I'm taking Chicago. Minnesota is a one-trick pony, man. That is it. That's all they do, and that's all they can do. So I'm going to take Chicago to squeak this one out by a little more than 3. Who you got?
Yeah, I've got Chicago as well, and you're right with Minnesota. They got AP, without Percy Harvin there. That is a very limited attack, and it's, he's putting up huge numbers, but they're not translating to a bunch of touchdowns, and that's what you need to win games. I think Chicago, this is one of my stronger plays, only covering 3. I like it.
I've pondered on this situation for quite some time, and I just can't put my finger on what the problem is. Atlanta, who is just they're obviously the lesser team in this matchup. They're laying 3.5 on the road at Carolina. I think Atlanta is going to handle them. Carolina's going to be fired up and such, but I don't think that's going to pan out. Who you taking?
I got the hook on this one. I'm going to take Carolina. I like Atlanta, but it's so hard to win games that if they get the win, fine. But I just don't see them covering in the division like this late in the year.
At Tampa Bay, the Bucks are going to lay 7.5 to the Eagles. Fire Andy. And I think the Eagles are going to show up and lose by 7, but not the hook. So I'm taking the Eagles, man, because that's a lot of points. I don't think Tampa Bay's some huge cover team. Who you got?
Darn foiled again. Yeah, he's got to play better. I'm not gonna fall in love with Philadelphia, but at 7.5, that's again too much for me.
At Buffalo, where they just need a little more time. If we could just give us a little more patience, please. They're going to like 3 points to the visiting St. Louis Rams. I'm taking the Rams. They're going to come in there and they're going to shock the world. I'm taking the Rams on this one. They're going to win this game straight up. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I think the Rams are the better team in this one. The only advantage Buffalo's got is the weather, playing a dome team outside. But I think the Rams are the better team, so I'm taking them getting the points.
Nice. At Cincinnati, the Bengals are going to lay 3 points to the visiting Dallas Cowboys. Oh, my goodness. This should be an interesting matchup. Can anybody say that Cincinnati is on one heck of a roll right now?
They are.
And I'm taking Cincinnati laying the 3. I think they're going to get them. Who you got?
Yeah, I think this is another strong play because, Dallas will do what they do best. They'll play a half of football, the first to the second, but they're not going to play a whole game. Cincinnati is starting to roll, so I like them in this one.
It's always around that time to save a job. Cincinnati starts showing up. At San Francisco, the 49ers are going to lay 10 to the Miami Dolphins. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm taking San Francisco laying double digits. I think that they are going to put up some points this week. I think that Vegas has this set up as a trap to make you feel like, whoa, they can't win games. They barely win, or not at all. And I think they're going to get us this week. I think San Francisco is going to put up a lot of points and smoke them. Who are you taking?
Hey, I've not been doing too bad picking off and on against San Francisco. I've been picking my shots there. I'm going to take them to cover as well. I don't have a lot of faith in Miami, but I'm thinking the other big spread on the board. This is the other big spread, the 10-pointer. I'm going to say that it covers this week. So that's my basis for that is the game that Vegas is playing us with its big spreads.
At the New York Football Giants, they're going to lay 5 points to the New Orleans Saints. I'm taking the Giants. I think this is another trap that they think, oh, you won't take the Giants. on a short week out, coming off a loss, you're not going to take them. I am going to take them. I think they're going to rock the Saints. Who you got?
There's nothing more dangerous than a gunslinger with nothing to lose. That would be the New Orleans Saints. They got nothing to lose at this point. I wouldn't want to play them at this point because when they bring out the full arsenal, it can be a little scary. Giants, I think, win this game, but I don't like them to cover 5.
Oh, okay. Well, we shall see. At Seattle, Pete Carroll, who conveniently just happened to have an NFL head coaching job so he could duck sanctions at USC, will lay 10.5 points to the Arizona Cardinals. Mello, if your best player on your team has to laugh to keep from crying, your team is done. They're dead in the water. Seattle is going to throttle them. I'm taking the big cover again. Who you got?
Yeah, I was scared of the big cover because Arizona's defense is legit, but I was looking at some of the stats for Fitzgerald. I mean, they are beyond pedestrian. He has no one to get him the ball. They have no quarterback play, and Seattle is a very hard place to play. I don't know how Arizona, I've said this in the past, this is one of them games, I don't know how they score.
Nice. And lastly, the Sunday night game. This should be an interesting matchup at Green Bay. The Packers are going to lay 7 points to the visiting stomp-happy Detroit Lions. Mello, if any team can blow a lead at the end of a game, it's Detroit.
Yes, sir.
But you know what? One thing I will give Detroit credit for is keeping it close. And unless they've given up, they may have given up. We'll find out Sunday night. But I think they're going to keep this game close or at least be leading at some point until they just fumble it away. Yep. So give me Detroit getting the 7 points. It's just a lot of points. Who are you taking?
I'm taking advantage of my inside information. Coach Jim Schwartz has said when the going gets tough, you're either going to get tough or get going, something to that effect. He's going to see who's tough and who's not. They're evaluating players about who's going to be on this team. So look for Detroit to play hard for the rest of the season. I've got them getting the 7 here.
Oh, okay. Nice. And then the Monday night game. It's at New England. They're going to lay 3.5 to the Houston Texans. You know what? I think Houston is the better team. I'm taking Houston getting the points. I think this is a no-brainer. Who you got?
What a slap in the face, if you ask me. If you look at the power ratings, there's Houston. They're a ways ahead of New England. Somebody doesn't like this matchup, but I do. I've got Houston getting the points without even the hook. I take this one in a pick, I believe.
I think I would too. I mean, you got defense, a well-rounded team, all offense.
You got to remember, these guys are all around your quarterback. I'm talking about Houston's defense, and you know your old buddy Tommy does not like people around them knees or all up in his face. He don't like. They make rules to keep people away from him.
Someday we've got to make a soundbite of me saying my famous line. I would take Brian Greasy over him. We got to get a sound. I would take Dreisbach over him.
Oh, man.
Ooh, man. Those are fighting words, Tom. Mello, anything else you want to touch on before we call it a show?
I think I covered everything I had to cover, baby.
Okay, good deal. Always a lot of fun, folks. We thank you guys all for tuning in. You can catch us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Zune Marketplace, all over the internet. But for Mello Bets, I'm Hank Davis. Until next time, my friends, we're signing off.
If you have comments or feedback, you can email the guys at tprfans@yahoo.com. That's tprfans@yahoo.com, or call the voicemail line at +1 810 309 8445.